evening and welcome once again to another edition of our Government at Work program. A program brought to you by the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration and hosted by yours truly, Keith Scarborough. This program is designed to inform and educate citizens and residents of Nevis, both at home and abroad, of the many positive developments that are taking place here on the island of Nevis. It's another wonderful Thursday evening here in Nevis, and it's a time when we all look forward to a night filled with information and good conversation as it pertains to the good governance of the CCM-led Nevis Island Administration. We look forward each week to go deep into discussions with the ministers of government, the permanent secretaries, the advisors, the department head, as well as top officials from the various statutory corporations here on the island of Nevis. On this program, we make every effort to keep the discussions as frank and honest as possible so that our listeners and viewers would have a true reflection of what is happening here in the land that we all call home. This program is being broadcast live on VON Radio every Thursday evening, from 8 to 9:30 p.m. Then we broadcast on Nevis Television on Sunday evenings from 8:30 p.m. This and other Government at Work programs, as well as our Buzz Ivy programs, can be seen on Facebook, YouTube, and the NTV web page. I take this opportunity to remind all Flow Television viewers that our television programming can be seen on Channel 103. And for those of you who have digital TV, our television program can be seen on Channel 99. So don't forget to log on each day of the week for our news package, our informative programs, and of course our entertainment package. We shall take a short break, and when I return I shall introduce my guest for this evening program to you. So stay locked on to the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio 860 AM.
So right, St. Thomas is right, St. James is put together and build your land. Right, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land. One people, one country.
Folks, I am pleased to have as my guest this evening the Deputy Premier of Nevis and Minister responsible for Culture, Agriculture, Lands, Housing, et al., the Honorable Eric Evelyn. Honorable, good evening and welcome once again to our Government at Work program.
Good evening, Mr. Scarborough, and good evening to our listeners, of course, here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis across the region, and of course, throughout the diaspora as well. It's always a pleasure to be here, of course, to share information with the good people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, more specifically to Nevis, and of course, to all who are listening at this time. It's indeed a pleasure to be here once again this evening.
It's a pleasure having you as well, Honorable. Now, before we go into our discussion this evening, I want you to bring us up to date on two matters. The first being the moving of the Cultural Secretariat to a different location. Could you enlighten our listeners and viewers as to where exactly is the office now located?
Yes, the Culturama Secretariat is now located in upstairs the Cotton Ginnery Mall. Mm-hmm. Of course, persons would recall that the Secretariat was once downstairs, the Cotton Ginnery Mall, yes. And the Secretariat had actually outgrown that space, and they would have moved to the Philip St. Jean building there next to the Mordcross Preparatory School. However, when they moved there, they maintained that space at the downstairs, the Cotton Ginnery Mall, and that was used as a box office where tickets were being sold. And of course, last year we had our 50th anniversary, and the anniversary shirts were also being sold there as well. Mm-hmm. And so last year it was really used as a box office. As I said, it's a very small space, very cluttered, and they had really outgrown that space. So they had to look for an alternative area, and I said they would have moved, and now they are back in the Cotton Ginnery Mall. However, they are upstairs now, and they are in a much larger space, more comfortable environment. And so any person who would like to do business with the Culturama Secretariat, you're asked to note that they are now back in the Cotton General Mall, but this time they are upstairs. So all you need to do, go upstairs, and I'm sure you're going to find the Culturama Secretariat very, very easily.
Okay, great. Now, I understand there has been a change in the title of the person in charge from executive director to executive officer?
Not necessarily. There's no change. The executive director was the former was Mr. Antonio Lai, but of course he would have retired last year. But there is no change in terms of name. Mr. Swain Evelyn is there now. He was has been with the secretariat for some time. He has a different title, but there is no change per se in terms of name and title as to who is in charge there. It's just that he has a different title in terms of scale and so on.
Okay, great. Now, finally, the last time you were here, you mentioned that there was to be a merger of the Cultural Secretariat and the Cultural Development Foundation. Are you in a position to shed any further light on that?
I did indicate that the NCDF would be absorbed into a Department of Culture. As did indicate as well that for that to happen, the NCDF ordinance has to be repealed. That has not been done yet. And so that no move has been made where that is concerned as yet.
Okay, great. Now, Honorable, I want to start this evening discussion focusing for a bit on the upcoming 51st anniversary of Culturama, because I've been hearing from a number of persons that they haven't heard much about it. So I want to give you the opportunity this evening to further enlighten the citizens and residents of Nevis, both at home and abroad, as well as all those persons who are planning to be here for Culturama 51 anniversary celebrations. We just had the first pre-event, which was the media launch at the MGR Park on Tuesday, 28th May. For those who may have missed it, give them an idea of what took place at that event.
Well, I do have the program here.
Right.
As you rightly indicated, we had the media launch of the festival, Culturama 51, on the 20th, Tuesday the 20th of May.
Yeah.
And if I could just indicate what would have taken place at that time, it was held at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. And just to react to what you would have said in terms of this question as well, and the preamble you said about people always telling you that they're not hearing anything. You get this every year, Mr. Scarborough. And I mean, irrespective of what happens, people will always say that, because a lot of people in Nevis criticize for criticizing sake. And no matter, because I've heard people say that Culturama 51 wasn't good either. Culturama 50 wasn't good either. And I believe right-thinking persons would know that Culturama 50 was the biggest and best festival we've had. I mean, we've never had so many events at a festival before. And for people to walk away and say that Culturama 50 wasn't good, I mean, as I said, people criticize for criticizing sake, and no matter how much they hear on radio, how much they see on television, how much they see on social media, I mean, it's never enough for some persons, you know, so you just have to do what you have to do. We just have to stay focused and do what we have to do. The media launch took place, as you rightly said, on the 20th of May. And at that media launch for the festival, we would have had some remarks. The ceremony was chaired by Mr. Swain Evelyn, who is the chairperson of Culturama 51. And he would have made some remarks. Then you had some remarks by myself as the Minister of Culture. Then we had the introduction of the committee members. We had the recognition and unveiling of the slogan winner. Of course, we know that the slogan has been released for some time now. Vision Pride Second to None, Culturama 51. And we would have recognized that person, and we would have indicated what the slogan is for persons who may not have been aware of what the slogan is. Then we had a very important item next. We had the recognition and the reading of the profile of the Culturama 51 patron. And let me say now, for the persons who may not be aware, I believe by now everybody should be aware as to who the Culturama 51 patron is. The Culturama 51 patron is Mr. Halstead Suti Byron. And I just want to take this opportunity once again to congratulate Mr. Byron for being selected as the patron for Culturama 51, Culturama 2025. I think he's very deserving of this honor. He's someone who has made an extraordinary contribution to culture on the island of Nevis. Of course, based on the profile that we heard, that was read at the media launch, we realized that Suti was involved in practically everything where culture has been concerned here on the island of Nevis. He was head of the Department of Culture. He was in the NCDF. I think he was the head of NCDF as well. He has been involved in drumming. He has been involved in teaching other persons drumming. He has been involved in so much in terms of keeping our culture alive, in terms of promoting our culture. And as I said, I believe he's very, very deserving of this honor of being named the patron for Culturama 51. So let me take this opportunity again during this medium to pay homage and say congratulations to Mr. Halstead Suti Byron for being the patron for Culturama 51. During the media launch as well, we would have had the revealing of the Culturama 51 calendar of activities. We would have also had the release of the Culturama 51 jingle and video. The jingle has been out for some time now. Soon after we had the release of the Culturama slogan, we would have released a jingle as well, and we would have done a video. And so both the video and the jingle were released during the Culturama 51 media launch as well. Then after that, we would have had the presentation by some of our sponsors. Of course, we know every year during the media launch, a number of our sponsors would come. We normally invite all of the sponsors. All of them would not be able to make it, but we had a number of our sponsors who came, some with their significant checks to hand over. Of course, some of the business houses will come with a large check that everybody can see very well what the amount they're giving. Some would hand over an envelope, and of course, we're very happy that sponsors were able to be there and to be recognized during the media launch as well. Of course, we cannot do anything. We cannot host Culturama without the assistance of our sponsors. Culturama is a very, very expensive venture, and I believe all of us on the island of Nevis would know that it is a very expensive venture, and we are always happy to have our sponsors on board. And so we always have a segment during our media launch where our sponsors get an opportunity to come up. If they wish to say something on the microphone, they can do so, and then they make the presentation of their sponsorship to the Culturama Committee and, of course, to the Minister of Culture. And then, of course, we would have had cultural presentations. We would have had a few masqueraders there, and we would have had a selection by the King Astor as well. And so that was it. It was a very brief but significant ceremony, of course, for the media launch of Culturama 51. I think it went extremely well. I want to thank all those who took part, those who attended, and of course, since the media launch, of course, we know that things are beginning to ramp up for Culturama 51. So that in a nutshell is what took place during the media launch for Culturama 51.
Great. Now, the rollout of the participants in this year's Queen Pageant show, the Swimwear and the Mr. Cool contestant, is set for June 20th. Shed some light on those three events for us. When is that likely to take place? Where and at what time?
Well, even before we have the launch of the participants on the 20th of June, prior to that, this past weekend, we would have had the photo shoot and the video shoot of the various contestants. And so the contestants would have been involved in the photo shoot and the video shoot. Those would have taken place at the Botanical Gardens as well as at the New River Heritage Site. And of course, our contestants have also been involved in the signing of contracts, because I'm sure most persons know by now that we do make contracts available for our participants and our contestants to sign. We are living in an era now which is everybody takes somebody to court. And so we have to safeguard the committee, we have to safeguard the Ministry of Culture, we have to safeguard the Nevis Island Administration. And so it is important when we have in activities like these that we do have contracts. And of course, so those contracts have already been signed, the photo shoots have been done, and as I said, you did indicate about the launch of the contestants on the 20th of June, but before that as well, we will also be having the sashing of the contestants and the participants. That is normally a private ceremony which involves the sponsors as well as the contestants. That ceremony has been used over the past couple of years to actually bring the contestants and their sponsors a little closer together, give them a chance to mix and mingle with each other, give the sponsors an opportunity to know a little bit more about the contestants, give the contestants an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the sponsors, and just general interaction. So that is normally a private event that should be taking place on Saturday the 7th of June. And so, as I indicated, it's normally a private event. It's not an event that is open to the general public. And so that will take place on Saturday the 7th of June. Primarily the contestants, the sponsors, the Cultural Committee members, and so really it's a mixing and mingling event. And as I said, the sponsors get an opportunity to place a sash on the contestants that they will be sponsoring. And yes, you did indicate we are planning for the official launch, or the reveal. We normally call it the reveal of the contestants, where the members of the general public, because members of the general public are always waiting with bated breath as to see who the contestants are and the participants are in the three of the major pageants. And so that opportunity will come on Friday the 20th of June. And so we will be, members of the general public will be hearing a lot more about it as the date gets closer. We're asking you to stay close to your radio, stay close to your television, stay close to your phone and your computers, because of course we will be promoting that on radio, on television, on social media, and we would want as many persons as possible. That is normally a very exciting event because it gives the contestants and the participants the first opportunity to be there and promote yourself or yourselves to members of the general public. And so, as I said, it also gives the members of the public an opportunity to get a first glimpse, because even though some persons may be aware as to who some of the contestants and participants are, many persons or most persons are not aware. It's normally a secret. And so the members of the public will get an opportunity at that point in time to see who the contestants are, get a feel of them, hear how they are sounding, how confident they're sounding, and maybe start to select their favorite contestant. Because of course, normally at that reveal, the contestants will get their crowd support. And the crowd support starts then and there. And then you want, as contestants, want to take that support straight to competition night. And so that takes place on Friday the 20th of June. We have not decided on totally decided on the venues yet, but persons can actually save the date, keep the date in mind, and when you'll be able to get a first glimpse of our lovely contestants and participants for Culturama 51.
Okay, great. Let me ask you this. Do you have the full slate of participants for all three shows? And I asked that because I know that the committee was experiencing some difficulty getting the required 5 girls for the Queen show. So enlighten us as to where we are at this point?
We do have a full slate of participants and contestants. We do have 5 contestants for Miss Culture. We have 5 contestants for Miss Culture Swimwear, and we have 5 participants for Mr. Cool. So fortunately, yes, we do have the full slate of contestants for the shows this year.
Okay,
and we
great,
are happy
great.
for that.
Yes, great. I want to move now to the pre-activities that are scheduled to take place as part of the build-up to the start of the official program of activities. So give us an idea of what we can expect to see and hear leading up to the official program of activities.
Okay, in terms of our pre-activities, and we are announcing pre-activities now, but I can tell you that persons are still calling, requesting dates and so on. So we will be updating the calendar very often.
Okay.
Right? So even though I'm going to announce some activities tonight in terms of pre-activities and fringe activities, there may be some that may be added closer. Well, not even closer to Culturama, but in the near future. Right. So in terms of what we have already scheduled in terms of pre-activities, we have Friday, June the 6th, we have a soca teaser. The venue to be announced for that one. That's Friday, June the 6th. We have Friday, June the 13th. We have another soca teaser venue to be announced. And of course, we know that we had several soca teasers last year, and they went very well. On Friday, June the 20th, we just spoke about it. We have the Culturama 51 launch and reveal of senior pageant contestants and participants. That's on Friday, June the 20th. On Saturday, July the 5th, we have another soca teaser, and I can tell you that that soca teaser will be taking place at the Artisan Village, and that will be done in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism. They will actually be hosting a night market. And so, of course, we know that we have quite a number of vendors there at the Artisan Village. And, of course, they will be delighted to see persons there. And the night markets that have been hosted at the Artisan Village, from all reports, have gone very well. And so it will be in collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism. And so they'll be hosting a night market. And during the night market, there will be a soca teaser. That's on Friday, July the 5th. On Friday, July the 11th, we have the soca elimination. The venue will be announced. On Saturday, July the 12th, we have a C51 bar crawl, and that would be powered by Carib Brewery. Of course, Carib is one of our sponsors. They would have powered the bar crawl last year as well. And so we have that event slated for Saturday, July the 12th. And of course, that is an island-wide activity. And of course, persons who know what the bar crawl is, you will stop at several bars around the island. And of course, the contestants are normally there. The contestants get a chance to mix and mingle, you know, and so on. And of course, persons who are probably liming at the bars get a chance to speak to the contestants and that sort of thing. Contestants get a chance to drum up support as well. On Saturday, July the 19th, we have the official opening, or not the official opening, we have the opening, because there's not an official activity that night. We have the opening of the Cultural Village. And we also have on that night the Soca Monarch semi-finals. And of course, that is taking place at the Cultural Village in Charlestown. On Sunday, July the 20th, we have the TDC Calypso semi-finals. Of course, you would be taking note of that. And that would be held at the David Freeman Center of Excellence in Gingerland. Then on Wednesday, July the 23rd, we have the first Federal Cooperative Junior Calypso Finals. And that takes care of the pre-activities that we have confirmed for now. As I said, some may be added.
Right.
And so persons
Right.
just have to be on the listen out and for the lookout as well.
Okay,
And
good.
as we will talk, as I of course I just mentioned the TDC Calypso semi-finals, I want to congratulate you because I understand that you released a song last evening. Of course, that's pretty early, but you said that is the normal time that you release your first song. And so I want to congratulate you. I heard a bit of it today. I wasn't able to hear it last evening as I was at a function in St. Kitts. And so I heard a bit of it today, sounding quite good. And so I want to congratulate you on the release of your first song.
Thank you.
And wish you all the very best for Culturama 51 this year.
Thank you. Now, Honorable, I observed that there are a number of fringe activities, listed once again this year, but I have not seen any mention of the Harvest Beach Affair. Is that not happening this year,
Well,
or is a little early for that?
Of course it is happening. There is
Okay.
no Culturama without the Herbert Beach Affair. As I indicated, a lot more activities will be added. I think it was an oversight that it was not on originally,
Okay.
because of course there is no Culturama without the Herbert Beach Affair. So of course the Herbert Beach Affair will definitely be on
Okay, great.
when the update comes out.
Okay, great. Now, could you outline the fringe activities first and give us an idea as to what they are about, if possible, who are hosting those events, if possible,
Okay, in terms of our fringe events
Right,
that we
just the
have
fringe.
confirmed for now,
Yes,
and as I indicated, more
Will be
might be coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so in terms of our fringe activities that we have for now, on Saturday, July the 12th, we have what is called a heat wave wet fete, and that will be taking place at the Cultural Village. And bearing in mind that these fringe events are done by private individuals and private promoters, private institutions, and so that is on Saturday, July the 12th, we have what is called a heat wave wet fete. On Sunday, July the 20th, there will be a production at NEPAC, and that will be spearheaded by Agnola Productions. Of course, we know that Culturama was born out of drama, and it's always good to have some drama during the festival. On Saturday, July the 26th, we have the Empire Sports Club Aquatic Extravaganza. And of course, we know that it's normally hosted there in the heart of Charlestown on the waterfront. And then on that same day, we have the Tropics, and that will be at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park. Now, you may ask, why are two events happening the same time?
I was going to ask.
Yes, well, that happened last year as
I know,
well.
I know.
However, the aquatic extravaganza normally starts around midday, around 12, and so the tropics will be starting somewhere around 6 the evening. And so it's not, even though it's a bit of a clash, it's not too much of a clash as well, because normally we want to finish the water events for the aquatic sports before it's dark as well. And we normally go down into the evening,
Yes.
but the tropics is going to be starting in the evening, right? On Wednesday, the 30th of July, we have the Rhythm Dance Theatre production that is normally done by Diane Hopst and her team. That will be done at NEPAC. On Saturday, August the 2nd, we have the 5-in-1 Fete, and that will be held at the Cultural Village. On Sunday, August the 3rd, we have the Nevis Equestrian Center horseback racing, and that will be done at the Old Marinas Pub at Cadesby. So that is something new for this year. And then, of course, on Monday, August the 4th, we have the Herbert Beach Affair. Right, so that is an indication in terms of what our fringe activities are looking like. And as I indicated, I've been saying all evening, some may be added.
Okay, great. Let me ask you this. I observe when I look at the program lineup that on July 25th, there's no activity scheduled. So I was wondering, why have those two big functions on the 26th and the 25th was wide open.
Well, the thing is, there is no rule of thumb that something has to be, an activity has to be on every night.
That's true.
Right? Of course, we know that the cultural village is open from the 19th. And so even though there may not be an official activity on any night, people can go to the cultural village. There will always be music. There will always be entertainment. And so people can go there to lime that evening. Normally, I think on the evening, on the Friday evening, previously in previous years, there may have been the Calypso eliminations, or on the Saturday night as well. There's some events that cater more to a particular day. For example, the aquatic sports.
Right.
We would not normally have that on a day during the week.
True.
The Empire Sports Club members are working people, and so we would not be able to host our activity on a Friday.
Understood.
Right? And I guess maybe the Tropics would prefer to have the event on a Saturday as well. So there's some events that lend themselves better to certain days.
True.
Than to certain days. Specifically, as I said, the aquatic sports, we can only have it on a Saturday or a Sunday on a weekend. We would not be able to host that event during the week, Monday to Friday, per se.
Okay, great. Now, the Empire Sports Club, of which you are the president, will be holding its aquatic sports extravaganza at the waterfront in Charleston once again. And this is an event that a lot of people look forward to each year. Shed some light on that event for us.
Well, this is an event that a lot of you rightly said. It's an event that a lot of people look forward to. I'm not even sure in terms of the count, in terms of how many we've had, but we've been having it for quite some time. Of course, we know that way back when, it used to be something very popular where people go down to the waterfront and go on the greasy pole and jump in the seawater and that sort of stuff. So at one point in time, we were asked to put on the event, and I think at one point in time, you're the one who was calling back for something of that nature as well.
Right.
And so we would have been approached, our club would have been approached, and we said yes. And so we have been having this event for a number of years. And of course, as the name suggests, it's an aquatic extravaganza. And so it's an event geared towards the water. When we would have started the event, it was mostly just the water event was mostly about the greasy pole, because that is something that people just absolutely love. And especially visitors who some persons are not seeing it, have never seen it, and seeing it for the very first time. It is something that people love. And so when we started the event several years ago, it was mostly the greasy pole. You had one or two swimming races. You think we had some little diving going on, and then we had some more activity on land as well. I think we would have had beer drinking competition. We would have had bun eating competition at one point in time, and that sort of thing. But the thing is, we have realized that, as I said, it's an aquatic event. And so we want to concentrate 98% of the activity in the water. And so because it is an aquatic event, we, over the years, we have built it, and, we have done quite a lot of swimming. Of course, we recognize that swimming has become very popular on the island of Nevis. Yep. I am very proud to say that when I was the Minister of Sports, we introduced something called Swim to Win. And we got a lot of people involved in swimming, especially a lot of young people. And so because we realized that swimming was actually taking off on Nevis, we decided to bolster the swimming aspect of the aquatic sports. And so every year now we have increased the swimming events that we have been doing. We do have, and we actually have the different types of swimming races. When we introduced swimming, it was just the regular swimming, but now we have the breaststroke, we have the backstroke, we have the butterfly. So we have all the different types of swimming. We have the 50 meters, we have the 100 meters, we have different age categories. And of course, we normally get assistance from persons who are involved in swimming clubs. And so nowadays the swimming has become a very big part of the aquatic extravaganza, where we have these persons who are involved in the swimming clubs coming to the competition, getting involved, and very, very enthusiastic about it as well. And so the swimming aspect has become a huge part of the aquatic extravaganza, and it can only get better. I can say as well that I'm very happy that a number of the persons who actually come there to take part in the swimming competitions and are successful in terms of winning medals and so on, they are now representing the island in regional tournaments. Of course, we've heard a lot about persons going overseas. We would have had persons going last year, I think it was to St. Lucia. Right now, I don't know if they're back yet, but we had some persons, about 5 swimmers who went to Barbados to take part in a meet. We would have had a swimmer going as far as the Olympics. We would have had swimmers going to Carifta Games. And I am proud to say that most or all of those swimmers would have taken part in the aquatic extravaganza, the Empire Sports Club Aquatic Extravaganza. So I am happy that this event is actually assisting in building the capacity and the expertise of these young swimmers. And of course, a lot of these young swimmers actually also do the cross-channel swim.
Yes.
Which is, 2 miles, and it's not an easy swim.
I know.
And some of them are very, very young swimmers, and they take the challenge, and some of them do very, very well. I was at the St. Kitts end, the finished end, when the swim took place earlier this year. And I was pleasantly surprised to see some of those young swimmers from Nevis and St. Kitts doing so well and coming in ahead of so many other persons. And so I am proud of, and my club, the Empire Sports Club, we're very proud of where we have come in terms of this aquatic extravaganza. And so the main focus now is swimming. We also have some diving competition as well. And apart from the swimming, we also have the regular swimming. We also have some swimming relays. And so it's sometimes, of course, we have teams taking part as well. And so it's an overall nice event. The event has grown, and we normally get a very good turnout. And so I want to encourage persons once again to come out in their numbers and support the Empire Sports Club. We are a community-based club, and of course we do a lot of community activities, and so whatever funds we raise at events like these, they go back into the community in terms of development of the community and development of our young people in terms of cricket as well. And so we are gearing up for the event, and we are asking persons as usual to come out in your numbers and support the aquatic extravaganza. And of course, I would have mentioned earlier the greasy pole.
Yes.
That is what people love as well. And that is one of the most exciting part of the aquatic extravaganza.
Okay, great. Let me ask you about the swimming a little. Do you get participation from our brothers and sisters in St. Kitts?
Well, not a lot, to be honest with you. I have said to some of the persons who help organize that they should probably invite some of the swimming clubs from St. Kitts to come over as well. But we do not get a lot.
Okay.
We'll get just a few, but not many persons coming from St. Kitts to take part in the swimming competitions.
Okay. And last year, the Empire Sports Club kept the ball.
Yes.
Which I thought was very lovely.
Yes,
I was
because
looking
you
for
were
it this
there.
year. I was looking for it this year. So what's happening with that?
Well, of course, Culturama 50 was a special, a milestone year. And of course, we had a lot of activities that were not normally on the program for Culturama. We decided, and last year we were also celebrating our 45th anniversary.
Yes.
And so that is one of the reasons why we had the ball as well. And so we were celebrating our 45th anniversary. Culturama was celebrating 50 years. And we just decided to do something a little different.
Yes.
Of course, we normally have, we are the ones who introduced the 35 and over dance.
Yes.
And since we introduced it, a lot of other persons have run with it. And so persons like the idea of the mature crowd being in an environment by themselves. And so we introduced it way back when. And so we normally have that event every year. And last year we decided, you know what, this is our 45th anniversary. Let's do something a little different rather than just having the regular 35 and over dance, because the year before we had a 35 and over dance as a pre-activity for Culturama.
Yes.
And so we decided for 45th anniversary, for Culturama 50, let's do something a little different. So that is why we had the ball. So it was I would say practically just a one-off event. It's not that we may not have it again, but we won't be hosting it for Culturama 51.
Okay, great. Now, the official opening of Culturama, the Culturama program of activities starts on July 24th with the normal opening of Culturama. Tell us where, what time, and what we can expect on this particular night.
Well, of course, that is normally a big night.
Yes.
Last year, we know it was a huge night at the cultural complex, when the cultural complex was actually renamed the NEDAX Cultural Complex. The committee has been meeting. We have not settled yet on the venue, and we will be working feverishly on the program. We have the central committee, but we have a subcommittee in place that is working on putting the logistics together for the official opening. So I can't say much about that as yet, because they're still fleshing out what will happen on that evening or that afternoon. And of course, they will be settling on what will take place, who will be a part of it, and the actual venue as well. So that I can't say much about yet, just yet.
Okay. Folks, you're listening to Government at Work. My guest this evening is the Honorable Eric Evelyn. We shall take a short break, and when we return, we shall continue with our discussions here on Government at Work.
So right, St. Thomas is right, St. James is put together and build your land. Right, St. George's and St. Paul's together with St. John's. This land is enough for all to share. No reason to leave and go nowhere. Foreigners can come here from America and England. There is something mighty sweet about my land. And if the foreigners who live here can insist that it's here they're from, then I swear I'll never leave my native land. One people, one country.
Honorable, Monday the 28th is the Panorama Contest. This event is rapidly becoming one of the most looked forward to events on the calendar of activities for Culturama. Tell us how many steel bands, if you know, will be competing this year, and if possible, could you tell us what is the test piece that they will be asked to play for this year's competition?
Yes, pan music has been really going to higher heights here on the island of Nevis. I am really very impressed. At almost every event you go now, there's somebody playing pan, you know. And I always said that I want to commend the persons who have been involved in teaching steel pan music here on the island of Nevis. A lot of persons have gotten interested. A lot of persons have been trained. A lot of persons are playing steel pan. And we have actually, I can safely say that we have revolutionized pan playing on the island of Nevis. And because there are so many persons involved in playing steel pan now, the interest in steel pan music has grown tremendously over the years. A few years back, many persons were not very interested in going to function to listen to steel pan music.
True.
But I was so pleasantly surprised last year for Culturama 50 when I entered the cultural complex and I saw the crowd that was gathered there for the Panorama contest. I was so blown away. I couldn't believe it. And I was blown away, but I was heartened and I was happy as well, you know, because a lot of work has actually gone into teaching steel pan music on the island. A lot of work has gone into it. And I'm happy to see that so many young persons in particular have become interested, have taken it on board, and are now involved. And very accomplished steel pan players as well, in a short space of time. And so I was really pleasantly surprised last year when I walked into the complex and I saw the crowd that was there, and people were there early as well for the panorama competition. And so the panorama, and of course we know as well that our bands, when they go to St. Kitts for panorama during Carnival, they do very well too. And you know, I was very, very impressed with their performances this year and last year. And generally, when they normally give a great showing when they go to Panorama in St. Kitts. And so this year, the Panorama competition is coming back. To from what I've heard, we now have 4 bands that have been registered for the competition. I'm hoping that maybe closer to the competition we hear that there's more than 4, because we have more than 4 bands on Nevis. True. And so I'm hopeful that maybe when we get closer, maybe we hear it's 5 or 6. True. But for now, we have 4 bands registered for the competition. And so I want to say kudos to the bands to have registered for the competition. And I know that once again it will be an intense and very competitive competition on that night. From what we have seen over the years, from what we saw at the cultural complex last year, from what we see at Carnival Village in St. Kitts over the past couple of years, and what we have seen manifested through these different groups over the years here in Nevis, I know that we are in for a treat once again for Culturama 51 for the panorama competition. I'm not aware as to what the test piece is, but I know that I'm sure that the bands right now are very busy rehearsing because they would want to outdo themselves on competition night. I want as well to just give kudos and credit to those persons who have been involved in teaching steel pan music. People like Shavonne Maynard, Gavin Trini Patterson, Junior Paris, Rohan Claxton, and all others who have been involved in some way in terms of teaching. But I know those are the 4 main persons who have been involved in teaching steel pan music on the island. You all have done a tremendous job. Kudos to you all for taking this thing to another level here on the island of Nevis.
Another level is right, because I don't know if you realize, but the federal competition in St. Kitts is mostly Nevisian steel bands.
Of course.
We've reached the point now where they only have 2 and all the rest is Nevis steel bands.
Definitely.
So that's how far we have come.
We have really taken it to another level here on Nevis.
And that panting is really becoming, one of the high points of the festival.
It has taken off.
Right.
It has taken off. And I also want to commend the Department of Community Development. They have done quite a bit as well in terms of the steel pan programs here on the island of Nevis as well. The NCDF, they normally do steel pan classes during the Easter vacation, during the summer. They go to the schools to teach. Of course, we know that steel pan is being taught in the schools. We have a steel pan at the Gingerland Methodist Church. Wherever you turn, there's steel pan.
Yep.
You know,
I'm really hoping that the older girls enter the competition this year, because it's all in the name of fun and excitement, and I think they're good enough to go in. It's not everybody could win, but I really hope that
because they're quite good as well.
Yes.
You're talking about the Pandora.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I really hope that they enter. I noticed with the pre-activities, there was no mention of Calypso tents. Are they not having any this year? Or?
Well, of course we will be having Calypso tents. We can't have Culturama without Calypso tents. Sure. I don't think the schedule, the roster, was completed or finalized when we would have done the media launch.
Yes.
And so even though there's no mention of Calypso tents, I would mention here, and I can tell the listening public, and I can tell you as a Calypso enthusiast that yes, and as a Calypsonian, as a competitor, that yes, we will be having Calypso tents for Culturama 51. So persons can look out and listen out for the dates and the venues. The Calypso tents last year went very well.
Yep.
They went very, very well, and so yes, we will be having Calypso tents this year. And as I'm on Calypso, I forgot to mention, because I also understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, that this year you're celebrating your 50th anniversary in the Calypso arena.
50 years.
Wow. Well, heartiest congratulations to you, sir.
Thank you again.
Yes.
No, we didn't get to the official program lineup.
Okay.
We started with the opening night, the 24th.
Yes.
So I want to give you the opportunity now to go ahead and list the other activities that are planned on the official program.
Yes, on the official program that we have on Thursday, July the 24th. Of course, we know that Culturama 51 runs from July the 24th until August the 5th.
Yes.
And the Thursday, July the 24th, we have the Culturama 51 official opening ceremony. Then on Sunday, July the 27th, and of course, remember I would have outlined some of the fringe activities.
Yes,
so some of the fringe activities are going to be interspersed with these core activities. These activities that I'm going to be mentioning are the activities that are organized by the Culturama Committee.
Sure.
All right? And so on Sunday, July the 27th, we have the Miss Culture Swimwear and the Mr. Cool contest, and that will be taking place at the NIDAX Cultural Complex. On Monday, July the 28th, we have Poets in the Square, and that will be taking place at the Charlestown Square, the main square there in Charlestown. And on that evening, on July the 28th, Monday, we have the Panorama Contest. We were just talking about the Panorama, and that will be at the NIDAX Cultural Complex as well. On Tuesday, July the 29th, we have Poets in the Square again. And then we have on the evening of Tuesday, July the 29th, we have the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth Pageant, and that will be held at the NIDAX Cultural Complex. On Thursday, July the 31st, we have Poets in the Square again, and then on the evening we have the Soca Monarch Contest. That's the Soca Monarch Finals. That is normally the National Bank Soca Monarch Contest, and that will be held at the Cultural Village. On Friday the 1st of August, we have Poets in the Square, and then we have the TDC Calypso Finals, and that will be held at the NIDAX Cultural Complex. On Saturday, July the 2nd, we have the Culturama, and this is one of the biggest events for the festival. We have the Culturama 51 Art, Craft and Food Fair, and that will be held at the Malcolm Guichard Recreational Park. And of course, I think people are still talking about Culturama 50, that event, that food fair that went so well, and everybody was saying it's the largest crowd they've seen in the park, the biggest event they've seen there. And so it's normally a massive event, and we're expecting it to be no less for Culturama 51. On Sunday, August the 3rd, we have the Miss Culture Queen Pageant, and that will be held. That is normally sponsored by the Bank of Nevis, and so that will be the Bank of Nevis Miss Culture Queen Pageant, and that will be hosted at the NIDAX Cultural Complex. On Monday, August the 4th, we have the Emancipation Juve Jump Up, of course, through the streets of Charlestown as well as from Gingerland. And on Tuesday, August the 5th, we have the Culturama 51 Grand Street Parade and Last Lap Jump Up through the streets of Charlestown. So that is what the official program is looking like for Culturama 51, Mr. Scarborough.
Sounds good. Let me ask you this. I realize the agriculture department normally have a function on the Friday.
Yes.
Before the
fruit festival.
Right, but
Yes.
I notice it's not on the calendar this
Well, as
year.
I said, we are updating, and the fruit festival will be on again this year. That is normally held on the Friday, the day before the food fair.
Right.
So that most likely will be held on the 1st of August, Friday the 1st of August.
Right.
Yes, we normally have our fruit festival. Last year it was held at the waterfront in Charlestown. The year before it was held at the Malcolm Guichard Park. We have been changing our venues, but the most important thing is that we have been having the activity. So that fruit festival once again most likely will be held on Friday the 1st of August.
Okay, great. Now I understand from the chairman when he was here a few weeks back, that there will be some changes put in place in the heart of town for this year's Juve Jam session in terms of the positioning of the booth stalls. Tell us a little about those changes, if you are aware.
Well, the thing is, we are all about safety when it comes to Culturama. We want people to be safe. We want people, when they come into a particular environment, to feel safe and be safe. And for that to happen as well, we must ensure that whatever setup is done, that it is as safe as possible. And so what we're primarily trying to do is to try to ensure that the way the booths and the tents are located in Charlestown, that they are safe. We have recognized over the past couple of years that sometimes booths and tents are set up too close to a corner and that sort of thing. And so we want to ensure that wherever the booths are placed this year, that there is no safety issue. And so that is primarily what we are trying to do in terms of any changes that we're making in terms of the positioning of the spaces where people can vend in Charlestown. As I said, we want people to feel safe. We want people to be safe. I know sometimes, when especially when the trucks are passing with the speakers and so on, they may veer close to a corner, and you really shouldn't have any tents set up too close to a corner and that sort of thing. So that is what we are really trying to do in terms of the little changes that we're trying to make in terms of the positioning. It's a matter of safety. That's why there may be some changes in terms of the positioning of some of the tents in Charlestown.
Great. Now, in terms of the bands in the street for Juve morning, what can we expect?
Well, of course, we would have the usual Juve morning. There's no Culturama without the Juve jump up. We haven't settled on the bands and so on yet. It's still a little early in the game for that. And so the members of the public, the revelers, the persons who like to jam, would, of course, you will be kept abreast in terms of which band will be moving off from where and that sort of thing. And so closer to the time, closer to the Juve, or, in the coming weeks, we'll be hearing a lot more in terms of what bands will be on the road, where they're going to be coming from, and that sort of thing. But, Juve is normally a hit. Juve is a time when Charlestown is ram-pack. And when I say ram-pack, I mean ram-pack. When you go to Charlestown on a Juve morning, you can hardly find place to walk.
True.
And of course, I'll be encouraging persons, as usual, to come out in your numbers and be a part of the jam. The jam session these days, thank God, have been nice and cool and calm and crime-free. We want that to happen again this year. So I want to make the appeal again this year that when you're coming out to jam, do not come with any weapons. Just come to have fun, to revel, to, just dance in the streets and just have good, clean fun for Juve.
True.
Without any crime, without any weapons. Leave the weapons at home.
True. Now, the grand finale is slated for Tuesday, August 5th, as you mentioned earlier, which includes the Grand Street Parade and Last Lap. Where would the parade be starting from? What time? And where would it end?
Well, the parade, over the years, we've had some changes where the parade is concerned. Of course, there's sometimes there's always a lot of concern in terms of how packed Charlestown is, because I just spoke about Juve morning, but when you come to Charlestown for parade day, it's even more packed than Juve. And I just often wonder where people get space. I remember last year, at the end of the parade, I was trying to walk from down Charlestown, from down in the area of the shed. And I wanted to make my way back up because my vehicle was parked. The parade would have started up in the Value Mart area last year. And my vehicle was parked up by the gas station. And I had to try to make my way. And it was difficult making my way through that crowd. I am serious. It was very difficult making my way through it. The crowd was so thick and so large. Anyway, in terms of the parade route, last year, of course, was Culturama 50. And so we would have decided, because we had a lot more troops registered last year, we decided to start up at the Valuemart complex area. We normally start in the Villa grounds, and there's normally a congestion. I think it would have been very congested last year for the number of troops we had. And so we decided last year we want to start in the Valuemart area. The committee has been meeting. They have been having discussions. And there is a thought, again, to start it up there. We haven't settled yet whether it's going to start there, whether it's going to start at the Villa. And so the troop, the revelers, and persons who are coming into Charlestown to watch the revelers and watch the troops, you'll be hearing more in terms of when we settle on the route. But bear in mind, the parade and troops will truly be on. That is not a major concern in terms of where we will start. So I think that is nothing for anybody to be worried about. The fact is, the parade will be on, and we will inform persons or troops who are parading where. Once that is settled, we will inform them as to where the parade will start for Culturama 51.
Okay, great. Now, I was smiling as you talk about the Juve morning crowd and the parade
right.
crowd. Because last year, I remember raising that video that Charlestown is beginning to get too small for that crowd, and maybe the time has come for us to look at a different venue to end. Not to parade, but to end, because where the ending is, that's where that bulk of that crowd is very difficult. Any consideration being given to that as we speak? If not for this year, at least sometime in the future?
Well, consideration is always being given to a lot of things, but sometimes when you sit and you discuss, when the committee meets, they throw ideas back and forth, and sometimes you can agree and you can't agree. No thought has been given to it as yet for this year. Of course, we know what we did last year. We just allowed the troops to come into Charlestown. They would perform there in the TDC parking lot area, and then they will go down the waterfront, and they will, some of them came back up on Main Street. Some of them didn't bother to come back up on Main Street because the final judging point would have been there at the waterfront. And so we haven't settled on that again yet for 2025. But you're right, because Charlestown is normally bursting at its seams. And when I say bursting at its seams, I mean really bursting at its seams when you come into Charlestown for parade day.
Yep. Now, Honorable, what has the registration been like thus far for the street activities and other activities, of course? You're coming close to the deadline for registration of all the activities. What has the registration been like thus far?
The registration has been quite good, I must say, because earlier on you did ask about the pageants. We were able to have registration for our full slate of contestants and participants. I did speak about that earlier. We have 5 Miss Culture swimwear, 5 Miss Culture contestants, 5 Mr. Cool. The number of Calypsonians this year is a bit down, unfortunately. I think we have only 16 Calypsonians registered, and I think the deadline has already gone. However, we have 29 registration for Soca Monarch.
So I heard.
29. Right?
So I heard.
That is a lot.
Yes, it is.
That is a lot.
It is.
And so the numbers for the Soca Monarch have gone up tremendously this year. The participation, the registration for the talented youth pageant, that has been going pretty well as well. I think we'll be having probably 5 or 6 schools taking part this year as well. All of the booths for the food fair have already been taken. And so we are only now entertaining registration for additional vendors, but you won't be able to get a booth per se. You may be able to get a little squeezing on that tent. And so the registration for the Junior Calypso competition, that has not closed as yet. That is still open. I think it closes on the 13th of June, if my memory serves me right. Junior Calypso, yes. Junior Calypso registration ends on the Friday, June the 13th. The senior parade registration ends on June the 13th as well. So we are still taking registration. I am not sure what the numbers are looking like for the senior parade as yet. We are also taking registration for Juve troops, because over the years we have realized that there are certain Juve troops coming on board as well. And so the registration has been going well. As I said, the art and craft and food fair has been sold out. We have our full slate for the pageants, 29 soca monarch competition, for the soca monarch competition. And I believe that's why we have a few teasers for the Soca Monarch, because we have so many registration for the Soca Monarch this year. A lot of interest is being shown in that regard. And so I want to encourage, the Junior Calypso competition, I'm not sure what the numbers are like as yet, but the competition, the registration is still open. And normally what we have realized over the years is that a lot of our Junior Calypsonians tend to wait until the last minute to register. But these numbers are normally quite good for the Junior Calypso competition.
Yes. Okay, great. Now, I want to move now to sponsorship of this year's festival. I know you would have mentioned some of it at the media launch, but for those who may have missed it, could you repeat one more time what our sponsorship is like? Any additional, of course.
Yes, the sponsorship has been coming in nicely again for Culturama 51, and I want to take this opportunity to say thanks to our sponsors who are already on board, and we're sure more will come on board. I can say I do not have the list here because I do not like to leave anyone out. You always get in trouble when you list sponsors and you may tend to forget one or two.
True.
And so most of our perennial sponsors who are on board every year, they are back on board again for Culturama 51. So most of our sponsors who have been with us for a very long time, most of them are back on board, and we're actually getting some new sponsors coming on board. We have some new sponsors that came on board for Culturama 50. Most of them are back with us again for 51, and we also have some new ones coming on board for 51. As I would have indicated earlier, Culturama is an expensive venture, very expensive venture, and we as an administration, of course, we know we spearhead the event, but we cannot do it alone, and so we are grateful and we are very thankful and we are very appreciative of the sponsors who come forward year after year to be a part of the festival. We are indebted to you, and so we say thank you. And I want to take this opportunity as well to just make a pitch for corporate citizens who are out there, and even individuals, because individuals can sponsor as well. Somebody can come and say, well, I'm going to give $5,000, I'm going to give $10,000. You can feel free to do so. And so I want to make the pitch. I want to thank those who would have come on board already and make the pitch for potential sponsors to come on board and join us, partner with the Culturama Committee, partner with the Nevis Island Administration for Culturama 51. We assure you that you're going to get a lot of mileage as being a sponsor, and so we're asking you to please come on board for Culturama 51. So sponsorship is going well, and I expect it to go even better.
Okay, great. Sounds good. Now, the marketing of the festival is always important. It helps to create the vibes, the energy that most persons are looking for. So tell us a little about your marketing efforts.
Well, of course, as you rightly indicated, marketing is very, very important. We would have done tremendous marketing last year, and that is why we had so many persons coming home for Culturama 50 last year.
Right.
And of course, our marketing would have started again in earnest. We got out of the blocks a little late this year, but I can tell you that we are beginning now to ramp up the marketing efforts for Culturama 51. Of course, we would have, as I would have indicated earlier, we would have launched the Culturama jingle, and so many persons would have already heard the jingle here on radio. They would have seen it and heard it on social media. The Culturama video has been out as well. That has been on social media. That has been on television as well. And so now we will be trying to ramp up the general promotion of the festival itself, and of course all of the activities for the festival. Of course, the private promoters who are having their fringe events, they undertake their own marketing for their own events. But of course, the Culturama Committee takes on the responsibility of the promotion for our main core events. And so we have already ramping up the marketing efforts on social media, and that will be increasing in the coming days and weeks. We know almost everybody's on social media now, but I always tell my team that we absolutely must utilize every media platform, not only social media, but we must continue to utilize radio, we must continue to utilize television, we must continue to utilize all the media platforms that are available. And so the Culturama Committee, we will be utilizing all of the platforms. You will be hearing a lot more here on the powerhouse of the Eastern Caribbean very soon. You will be seeing a lot more on NTV. You will be seeing a lot more on social media. And of course, we want people to be a part of the festival. And people can only be a part of the festival. People can only want to be a part of the festival if you promote the festival properly.
Sure.
I think Culturama 50 was well promoted, and that is why we had so many people coming home. That is why we had so many persons taking part in the festival. And we're aiming to do that again for Culturama 51. We know a lot of persons who were here last year who came home. Some of them said they are coming back.
Right.
Some who did not make it for 50 said they are coming for 51.
Okay.
And so we would expect, because now that we would have had the media launch, because we actually had persons from overseas who were contacting me, contacting other persons, wanting to know what the calendar looks like, what are the dates. And so now that the dates are already out there, now that the calendar is already out there, people can now, especially those in the diaspora, can now start making their plans, putting in for their vacation, booking their tickets, for visitors who want to have to book a accommodation. You'll have to start doing that now. And so, as I said, the promotion is going to be ramping up. We have the messages. The messaging is already out there, and so we will be ramping it up on radio, television, and social media.
Okay. Speaking of platforms, the music festival is just a few weeks away. Many persons are expected to be here for this year's music festival. Will the Culturama Committee be using that platform?
We've been having some preliminary discussions.
Right.
Of course, to advertise at music festival is very,
costly.
very, very expensive. And so we will have to make a decision as to whether or not our budget will allow us to do that. But we have been having preliminary discussions with persons from St. Kitts in terms of the music festival.
Okay, great. Now, tickets. When will tickets for the various shows become available? And where would person be able to purchase those tickets? Now it's a little early.
It is a little early for that. It is a little early for that.
Yes.
So, well, of course, normally tickets are available at the Culturama Secretariat. Of course, once again, as I indicated, the Secretariat is in the heart of Charlestown, right in the Cotton Ginnery Mall. It is in the heart of Charlestown. So whenever the tickets become available, tickets will be available at our home base at the Culturama Secretariat. I know over the years as well, we would have utilized TDC in the heart of Charlestown. Of course, they're not there anymore. CDS, we would have utilized CDS to do some of our ticket sales. So we will have to now see whether or not we can get another outlet in the heart of Charlestown, apart from the Culturama Secretariat, to do our ticket sales. But I can tell you that most of our ticket sales will be done at the Culturama Secretariat because we are in the heart of Charlestown.
Sure. Now, any increase in the cost of the shows for this year?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There will be no increases this year. And so people can rest assured that, you can plan your budget properly because there will be no increases for the price for the entering the shows for Culturama 51.
Okay, great. What about the live streaming of the shows? Will there be a fee attached for persons who wish to watch the shows via the streaming?
We did that last year.
Right.
We are now revisiting as to whether or not we should do it again this year. So a final decision has not been made yet where that is concerned. Of course, we know over the years we have done it for free, and of course a lot of persons would have indicated that you all should be charging something. We did that last year, but we are now revisiting and discussing as to whether or not we're going to charge for 51.
Okay. No, we haven't heard as yet what the prices would be for the various competition winners of the Culturama 51. So if you can shed some light on that for us.
Well, of course, last year for Culturama 50, we would have increased the prize monies for practically all of the shows. It was 50 was a milestone year.
Yep.
And of course, we know that we cannot offer those hefty prizes again, Culturama 51. And so we will be reverting to what we the prize monies normally are. And of course, the participants in the pageants, the contestants in the pageant, they are already aware as to what these prize monies are, and so that is why they were able to sign up and sign their contracts. And so I just wanted to indicate that unfortunately we won't be able to maintain the large prize monies that we would have paid out last year for C50, and so all we were doing for 51 is to just revert to what the prizes were for the previous year.
Honorable, one of the things that we have mentioned, I know it's not your function, but it dovetails into the Culturama pre-activity, and that's the Mango Festival.
Yes.
That is a big thing. What part will the Culturama committee be playing, if any, during this huge Mango Festival, Sunday in particular?
You're right, it is a huge event, and it has grown tremendously over the years. Of course, last year they were celebrating, the Mango Festival celebrated its
5th year, I think.
10th anniversary. 10th anniversary.
10th anniversary.
Yes, and this is actually an event that persons are actually coming from overseas to attend now.
Exactly.
You know, persons have been booking to come to the Mango Festival from my understanding. I understand that some persons who are coming to the music festival will be staying on for the Mango Festival. It has really grown tremendously. And Culturama, we normally sometimes collaborate with the Mango Festival because that is another opportunity for us to do some advertising and some promotion. And so we will be looking forward to partnering again with the Mango Festival Committee and doing some promotion during the events. Of course, I think it goes from the 4th to the 6th of July. And so we will be looking forward to doing some promotion at the events. As you indicated, the Sunday event is normally the largest event. And last year it was indeed massive at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park, and the reviews from that has been overwhelming, very, very positive. And so I want to commend the organizers of the Mango Festival, the Nevis Tourism Authority, and I want to wish them every success. They normally collaborate with my department and Ministry of Agriculture as well, and I know they're going to be doing that again this year. And so I want to wish that festival well, and I want to encourage persons who want to come home for the Mango Festival to do so, and you can come back for Culturama. You can come for Mango Festival, and you can come back for Culturama.
Two in one.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Honorable, last year somebody came up with this initiative of having the steel band playing in the park at least one Sunday per month. I thought that was a beautiful idea.
Yes.
And a lovely build-up. Would we be seeing anything like that this year?
Well, it's possible. It went very well last year.
Yes.
I think Mr. Junior Paris is the one who would have come up with that very lovely idea. And it really went well. Quite a number of persons normally go there. And of course, just going to the park, I mean, the ambience that is at the Malcolm Gishard Recreational Park is unbelievable.
True.
You know, and so just going there on a Sunday afternoon to chill out, and then now to have an additional thing of hearing steel pan music. And of course, I would have indicated earlier that we have in Nevis taken steel pan playing to another level.
Yes.
And so because steel pan has been taken to another level, they decided, Mr. Paris and the NCDF decided to have this event on a Sunday afternoon there at the Malcolm Gishard Park with featuring different steel bands, and it went well. I'm not sure whether or not they're going to be doing it again this year, but it went exceptionally well that last year, and I think it will be welcomed if it is organized again for Culturama 51.
True.
But
True.
as I said again, that is something that even if it is being done, will be organized closer to the date, and so we can probably listen now to see whether or not that will be added to the calendar of activities.
Okay. We spoke of the activities at the MGR Park and the beautification of it, but there's also phase 2.
Yes.
Which is equally as beautiful and very popular. Would there be any happenings going on phase 2 during this Culturama period?
Well, I mean, there doesn't have to be any organized happenings at phase 2, because, I mean, phase 2 has its own happenings.
True.
That are there every weekend,
That is
every
true.
day, every night, every weekend. I mean, of course, we know we would have done some excellent work there in phase 2 in terms of the putting in the parking lot, putting in ensuring that there's good drainage there, beautifying the area, and that is actually a sight to behold.
True.
That is a sight to behold. And so people love there. People gravitate to that area. And so something does not need to be organized there, because normally, for last year, for Culturama 50, I understand that every night on the beach was full.
Of course it was.
And it doesn't have to be Culturama.
That's
when you
true.
visit Pinnis Beach on a weekend, on a regular weekend, down there is full.
Right.
And so, down there create its own activity.
That is true.
It creates its own activity. It lends itself well to people
atmosphere
just
as well.
precisely. So people just go there for a lime because it is such a fantastic place. I would have told the story, and I would not have told it on this program, but sometime last year, one of my aunts-in-law was visiting from Canada, and I took her down to the beach for dinner. And when we got to Pinnis Beach and I parked, and she came out of the vehicle, she said, "Where are we?" No, this is not a joke. She said, "Where are we?" I said, we are at Pinnis, because she's from St. Kitts originally.
Yes.
She comes to St. Kitts Nevis pretty often, and so she would have been here probably about 2 years back. And she said, "Where are we?" I said, and every time she comes, she goes down to Pinnis.
Yes.
I said, "We are at Pinnis Beach." She said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yes." And she was just standing there with her mouth open for a while. And she said, "I am not hungry anymore." Because just standing here and admiring the transformation that has taken place here at Pinnis Beach, it is unbelievable.
True.
And she was just talking about it all night when we were sitting there all night she was talking about it. And she said it was just so stunning. And she said it didn't feel like she was in Nevis. The venue felt like she was somewhere else. And she had such high praise. And it's not her alone, because practically most of the persons who came to Nevis for C50 from overseas were blown away with what they have seen there
True.
at Pinnis. I mean, we are currently having a summit, a global conference
right.
in St. Kitts and Nevis for this week. We had some delegates who were in Nevis on Monday. Some will be coming back tomorrow.
Yes.
And I would have dialogue with some of the delegates who were there on Monday. I spoke in particular to one lady who used to visit the St. Kitts and Nevis very often. She hasn't been here for probably the past 5-6 years. And she called me aside and she said, "I can't believe what I'm seeing in Nevis." And she was lamenting about the Pinnis Park, the Malcolm Gishard Park. she would have taken a little drive, and she was commenting on the roads. She was commenting on everything about Nevis, how Nevis is so good. She's Jamaican, and I was telling her that I was in Jamaica last year, and I drove on some very bad roads in Clarendon. I had to tell her we have better roads than Jamaica, And so yes, people have been commenting on that Penny's, the Malcolm Gishard Park, and the Phase 2,
right?
And we are only hearing great reviews about there.
And Phase 2 is now looking even better than it did last year for the 50th anniversary.
Indeed.
So those who come in will see even more beauty.
Indeed.
On that beach and so
Indeed.
forth. So, Honorable, I want you to speak a little. We don't have much time left.
Time is running out.
Yes, as usual, about the economic benefit. Yes, Culturama doesn't make any money, but the economic benefits of culture, this festival, to both the water taxi and the regular vessels, is becoming almost like a cash cow during Culturama. So speak to that economic
But not only
benefit a little
Culturama, because
this
is an everyday thing.
Yes.
I mean, I was in St. Kitts for a function last evening. I mean, when we would have traveled over, left Owali at 5:45, and I mean the vessel was full going over. We would have left St. Kitts at 8:30. The vessel was almost full coming back over. And every time you travel, and I was actually commenting to Minister Brand yesterday that, even though so many persons are traveling from Owali, a lot of people still travel from Charlestown.
True.
Because I travel from Charlestown as well.
Yeah.
I use both facilities.
Yes.
And so a lot of people are traveling, and during Culturama, the traveling increases tremendously.
Yes.
And we spoke about this last year in terms of how much money would have been made by these operators of the water taxis, the ferries, the taxi drivers in St. Kitts, the taxi drivers on Nevis. And I think it is underestimated in terms of the injection into the economy that Culturama does. Everybody benefits. When you have people coming home, as I said, the taxi drivers last year when we had Culturama 50, we had a lot of persons. I think the numbers increased in terms of the passenger arrivals to St. Kitts are increased out of Miami and out of New York in particular. And so the persons, they have to travel. Once they land in St. Kitts, they have to take a taxi either down to Bastille or to Reggae Beach. And so our taxi drivers in St. Kitts would benefit tremendously. When they get to Nevis, of course, when they come over, the boat operators will make a good bit of money as well. And then, of course, our taxi drivers here, our restaurants, our supermarkets, our car rentals. Last year, people couldn't get any car to rent, and I believe that will be the same thing again this year for Culturama 51. And so there is a lot of ripple effects from persons attending Culturama. A lot of people benefit. And so the hotels benefit as well. And of course, we were just talking about down at Penny's Beach.
Yes.
All the restaurants down there will benefit. And so not only down there, but throughout the island.
Yes.
And so I think a lot of the business places would benefit. And there's a lot of injection into the economy in terms of what happens for Culturama. And again, I want to make the appeal and the pitch for persons to just come out in your numbers and support the festival.
And on that note, I think is a good point to end this evening's edition of Government at Work. But Honorable, I want to give you your last words for our listening and viewing audience.
Yes, of course, we have been discussing mainly Culturama this evening. I want to take this opportunity once again, as I did at the media launch, to just say that Culturama belongs to all of us. Culturama is not even though it's spearheaded by the government, it doesn't belong to the government, it doesn't belong to the Culturama committee, it doesn't belong to the Culturama secretariat. Culturama belongs to all of us, and we should all try our best to support the festival. I want to say that I believe that we're going to have another tremendous activity or tremendous festival again this year. I foresee another successful event, and so I would encourage people to come out in your numbers and support. I would encourage persons in the diaspora to come home in your numbers as you did last year, and let us once again ensure that Culturama lives up to its name as the Caribbean's greatest summer lime.
Amen. Folks, we have come to the end of another edition of our Government at Work program. Join us again next week when we shall do it all over again. Do enjoy the rest of the evening's programming. Then have a pleasant night's rest. Good night.